How can a woman add value to herself?
The first value in marriage or just generally?
In marriage and generally.
If it's generally, have a good certificate that is workable. Like most things that add value to women add value to men. Just like, if you are out of school, out of the university, continue to self-study. Because it will get to a time you become an illiterate again. You've graduated now for about 16 years, but unfortunately you didn't really work with your psychology, which is the certificate you have. Fast forward to 14 years later, you are almost an illiterate. Because if anybody who had been to school ask you any question anywhere, and I'm not saying questions about school, I'm saying questions about life, your addition to life will be watery. The value you offer will be watery. There was a few days ago, I was telling some people that thank God for pastors who we now call motivational speakers. Even if a pastor is a motivational speaker, he's doing a lot of things to help the youth, because most people don't read. When was the last time you read a real book? I'm telling you, most people don't read because we go into hustle mode as soon as we finish in the university and all. And then you only spent 4 or 5 years in the university, or 6 years, and now you've been out of the university for 14 years, and you still think you're a graduate. You think you have a BSc something. Some of us are not really facing the reality. Your brain is not working at premium. And if they ask you to read 4 things and cram it and say it back in 10 minutes, you can't do it again.
At all.
But in your mind now, if somebody calls you an illiterate, you are not, because you have a paper that you took 18 years ago that is at home. So your productivity is no longer there. But in your mind as a wife, you think you can still advise your husband, who is a banker, who had done 4, 5, 6 courses after school, who is still always doing it. The brain is no longer the same. And a lot of families miss out on that. So
but it's not possible to forget everything that someone learned in the university.
You don't forget everything.
So there are some things you can still advise the husband on.
No, that's the problem with wisdom. You can't advise. You think you are, but you are no longer playing. Let me tell you something. If I am in a playing field and I leave that playing field for 6 months, when I come back, I'm rusty. It's like a footballer that is injured. No matter how good you are, once you come back, you are not at that place again. There's nothing you can do. Is life. Time and season is moving, unless you're moving with it. So even if you are a financial expert and you retire, 3 years into your retirement, unless you keep up with what you've been doing before, you will forget everything you're doing. You mention some things, you say, what is that? Because you won't even remember it in the course slot again. That's how life is. I got to figure this out myself. I was speaking to my dad when I was younger. Any kind of thing you want to ask, when it has to do with use of English, ask my dad. My dad knows it. We call him a walking dictionary. And then I felt he still had that in him after he retired. So we were just gisting one day, and then I said something, and then he said I should explain what I said. I said, just English now. Like, he said, my son, I forgot everything. I said, it's a lie. There's no way you can tell me.
Old age.
He's not old age. He's not old. He's 74. He drives himself. He does everything.
Is old, though.
No, he's telling me that it's been long he left his brain behind, and he's no longer at that pace. And he even told me, he said, if he's not careful with the rate, he's forgetting all these languages, which is, this, I'm not saying use of English like I'm going to the market. He speaks some very huge jargon in English. He said he can't remember what they mean again. And he remembered all his life. But now he has forgotten because he doesn't use it daily. It's like language, you forget. It's like driving, you can be rusty. If you leave driving for 12 years, once you drive again, you won't forget completely, but you're going to be very rusty. And you probably have an accident if you drive a long way. I'm telling you, that's how life is. So once a woman wants to keep their value, or a man needs to keep their value, they have to repeatedly do things that add value. Number 1 on that list, reading. Add anything you find valuable you want to hide from a black man or a black woman, put it in a book they will never read. So at what point will anybody keep their value? You know what the youths tell me? They are asking me, when did I learn what I know? Because till date, I study as if I'm in 100 level. Every single day. My study hour is about 8 hours per day. And as God will have it, my job type allows me to study heavily. And I enjoy doing it. But someone that they have to beg and pray for and fast for and give testimony about passing an exam in the university and graduating, since the day they graduated, that's the end of it. Guess what everybody does? You start hustling to put food on the table. You start hustling. The only thing you know is probably color match. You know how to match colors. And you know the new hairstyle in town.
You go to party.
Because you go to parties. But there's no sense in that. But you won't know. And guess what? It's even worse now. We have lapse of wisdom now because everybody listens to TikTok where there is motivation. So you can see something in 5 seconds that will tell, they are giving you false identity. Everybody think they're smart now because they read things in 5 minutes, they see things in 3 minutes, and they think they understand. But how do we know? The result in your life is complete balablu. You're working 9 to 5, you are angry that they've not increased your salary, you are heavily praying on the mountain for promotion, you can't figure out what to do in your life. The only set of people that are out of this, look, let me even tell you something shocking. The egos that are working in Onitsha, they are more brilliant than those of us that think we went to school. Because an Igbo man will figure out how to sell. An Igbo man can figure out how to buy product. He'll figure out how to raise capital. You see those challenges they face and they conquer. It's a form of education, but it's not just the formal education you go into a school for. A football player might not have gone to school. They think they are illiterate, but they are not. They are being taught by the people who went to school. They are professors of football. They know how to do it, and they have time management. They have this coach, they have that coach. In their field of play, they have coaches, and they are being trained every single day. When last did you go to a conference?
I can't remember.
Exactly. Thank God you even know what a conference means. If not for church, some people would never have heard anybody say anything. And do you know how I got to know this? There are podcasts that run for 2 hours. Check out their views. Most people don't watch. Have you ever, apart from entertainment, because people entertain themselves and they educate. Apart from watching football entertainment that goes 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, when last did you watch anything that is teaching you realities for 2 hours?
I used to.
Oh, like what? Give me an example of what you watched.
Okay, there was this man Nedu brought for his podcast.
Because he was a pastor that had some stories, he was telling stories. That's not education. When last did you study the nerve in your neck? Because you say I have neck pain. Did you study the nerve that is giving you neck pain?
No.
Vagus nerve, they call it. So as simple as you have a problem, instead of you to research, you just Google, if I have neck pain, am I going to die? That says, no, you can't die. It's a clinical. Glory. Hallelujah. That's the end. And then he's paying me, you'll be using Aboniki. Instead of you to research it, understand how many, then once you now say, well, why is my neck paining me? You're not a medical doctor. I'm just telling you how you add value. And then you figure out this is vagus nerve, is the nerve that connects every part of the body. Oh, I can even put as doctor. And then you start researching it. Before you know it, for the next 1 year, you can be a medical doctor on nerves. You'll be seeing online all these people that stretch people's neck. They will stretch their hand. Have you even searched into it? Because it's just trending. It never existed all my life. It's now that we are seeing it. But to even call the name is hard.
Cipropractor or something like that.
And nobody will search into it. Why? You know, when I was thinking about doing it, in my mind, I'm like, what if they removed it and it's a mistake from the doctor and my neck removed?
It cannot.
I will never do that. Never. And then I say, no. Now, look at the way I'm sounding now. Am I educated? Yes. Do I know what I'm doing? Yes. But this thing I'm saying is complete rubbish. Because one, I can't produce the name. I don't even know what it's called. I just know it's simple, whatever. Secondly, I'm saying, what if my neck removes? I don't know how it works. So and that's how people sound. But you can't call me an illiterate, but I don't know how these things work. And if I don't research it, at what point will I know? Everywhere I go in my world, I will continue to say, when they remove my neck, what if they do it like this and my back breaks? What? And that's the rubbish people say on topics they don't know that they assume. And that's what 90% of us do. That's lack of value. Guess what? Most people that have issues with their husbands on things that are valuable is always your husband is a medical doctor, is this. Because they go to courses, they study, they do all of these things. They kind of renew the strength of their own brain. Their wisdom is multipliable. People that work on some things, you know, it's like you pop your brain. It's like hack wall. You are taking something that is improving your ability to reason and think. So you are better off. But once the person at home, either husband or wife, doesn't really use their brain like that, or they have a job that some people work in a shop, and from morning to night, you just sit down and your boys will attend to everybody. All you do is just count money. And you have done that for 10 years. You think you are still wise? You're not. You can sign, you can go to the bank, you can tell your children and scream on them, you can still do their A plus B plus abacad that they do at home. But the reality is, you are no longer as wise as you should be, and it's going to be an issue of low self-esteem for you at the end of the day.